Trump threatens devastating tariffs on China. Chinese warplanes shadow U.S. jets over the Taiwan Strait, and more high-level purges in China's military. That and more on this week's China News Headlines. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Happy Black Friday! Are you looking for a holiday gift that's not made in China? How about a subscription to the new China Uncensored premium website? Our premium subscribers will get extra episodes not available anywhere else, plus exclusive live streams, plus a way to chat directly with me and the team, plus an ad-free experience for China Uncensored videos and the rest of our shows. So head over to ChinaUncensored.tv and click on gift cards. You can gift, for example, a premium plan for the whole year, which saves 16% compared to a monthly plan. Whatever you end up buying this holiday season, buy something not made in China. Google has taken down a slew of fake news sites and wire services run by a Chinese influence operation. Google's Threat Analysis Group, or TAG, together with the security subsidiary Mandiant, published a report detailing the operations of the influence operation, called Glass Bridge by Google. The influence operation consisted of 4 companies seemingly working together to pump out hundreds of inauthentic news sites and newswire services that pushed pro-China content. Good rule of thumb, if someone is singing China's praises, it's either propaganda or they're doing it under duress. These are just happy tears. I'm not worried at all about them hurting my family if I don't read this script. According to the report, these news sites pose as independent outlets that republish articles from PRC state media, press releases, and other content likely commissioned by other PR agency clients. In some cases, they publish localized news content copied from legitimate news outlets as well. The researchers noted that they've seen similar behavior from Iranian and Russian influence campaigns, which isn't surprising since China, Russia, and Iran have such a cozy relationship. This looks like the most evil slumber party of all time. Google said it's blocked more than 1,000 Glassbridge sites from Google News and Google Discover since 2022. Some of the content also came from Dragon Bridge, another influence operation that Google has spotlighted many times over the last 3 years. Mixed in with the copied, legitimate local news articles and articles from CCP-controlled state media were articles on conspiracy theories, such as one saying that the U.S. is conducting biological experiments on humans, which is rich coming from the Chinese Communist Party, with all of its organ harvesting from political prisoners and, well, you know. This research by Google reinforces a report from earlier this year about a concept called pink slime. And we're not talking about the industrialized byproduct meat filler that makes your food taste great. Makes you wonder if this is one of those biological experiments the CCP was talking about. No, pink slime journalism in the media arena refers to websites that bear the visual hallmarks of a real local news outlet, but publish misleading and filler local news stories to further the interests of undisclosed backers, like partisan groups or hostile governments. And you guessed it, the typical culprits were the CCP, Russia, and Iran. These regimes loved to sow chaos. And with the decline of local news and the emergence of ChatGPT and other similar tools, it's only becoming easier for them to make this stuff. Google is luckily catching on, but clearly more needs to be done. And China has reached a new low, which proves there really is no depth the CCP won't sink to. The deepest part of the sea is believed to be the Challenger Deep, a basin in the southern end of the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean, which reaches about 6.84 miles below sea level, or 11,000 meters for all of you metric fans. The CCP wants to lay cables there that can be used to carry deep-sea equipment like detectors and remotely operated underwater vehicles, critical for deep-sea exploration and research. But at those depths, the CCP better watch out for any Leviathan-class life forms for you Subnautica fans. Apple's CEO Tim Cook is heading to China as Apple prepares for Donald Trump's trade policies regarding China, which could have a large impact on the company. Cook joined more than 20 executives on Monday for a roundtable event with Chinese Premier Li Qiang, ahead of a 5-day supply chain conference in the Chinese capital. According to Bloomberg, the discussion was focused on supply chain and trade issues. It's the first high-level roundtable between a senior Beijing official and foreign companies since Trump won the U.S. presidential election earlier this month. China is one of Apple's top markets and most important producers, with some previous estimates indicating that over 95% of its iPhones, AirPods, and iMacs, along with Macs, being made in the country. So Apple's official response to Trump's proposed tariffs is, ugh. Still, as local rivals such as Huawei have increased their market share, Apple has faced a slowdown in sales, which might explain why this is Cook's third trip to China this year. In a statement he gave in an interview on Monday that was posted by a social media account conveniently connected to China Central Television, Cook said of Apple's partners in China, "I value them highly. We could not do what we do without them." That might be a problem with the Donald in charge. More on that in a bit. Apple hasn't commented on the visit or Cook's statements as of yet, which is strange since normally Apple gives you like 20 updates a month, whether you want it or not. It looks like the EU is nowhere close to a deal with China on electric vehicle tariffs, according to officials. China is subsidizing their EVs and dumping them on the European market at outrageously low prices. So last month, the EU imposed tariffs on Chinese EVs of as much as 45% in its highest profile trade investigation. The move has divided Europe, though, with some members like Germany and Spain wanting to maintain or even deepen ties with Beijing. China has slammed the measures as protectionist and retaliated with its own duties on European brandy and pork. On Monday, European officials said that while discussions are ongoing regarding alternatives to tariffs on Chinese EVs, there hasn't been a breakthrough. One of the options under consideration is to set a minimum price on electric cars imported from China to raise their price, which the EU concluded after a long investigation was artificially low because of Chinese state subsidies. But what minimum price is undecided. Also, it took a long investigation for you to figure out China was selling cheap goods. That's their whole thing. For years, I thought CCP stood for crappy, cheap products. China is investigating its defense minister for corruption. I'm shocked. Not that it happened, but that it took so long. According to the Financial Times, the investigation of Defense Minister Dong Jun is part of a bigger probe into military corruption. If confirmed, Dong Jun would be the third consecutive serving or former Chinese defense minister to be investigated for alleged corruption. This comes just after Dong declined to hold a meeting last week with U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, which was supposedly due to differences over Taiwan. Xi Jinping has launched multiple waves of anti-corruption purges and investigations since coming to power. But, as you know if you've been watching China Uncensored, are really about internal factional power struggles within the CCP. And after the break, another Chinese spy balloon. This time it floats over to Taiwan. Welcome back. Donald Trump says he plans to enact new tariffs on Canada, China, and Mexico on his first day in office. Trump has solidified one of his major campaign promises, a tariff hike on the U.S.'s two neighbors and biggest trading partners, along with its foremost geopolitical rival. And that could have a major impact on trade. On Truth Social, Trump posted that on January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. But this being Trump, he wasn't anywhere near done. He reminded his audience that he conducted multiple talks with the CCP in the past regarding the fentanyl crisis and their role in it, but that there was never the crackdown on fentanyl being sent to the U.S. that he demanded. As such, the president-elect has vowed to charge an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods until the fentanyl shipments stop. In response, Liu Pengyu, the Chinese embassy in D.C. spokesperson, posted on X that no one will win a trade war or a tariff war, which means China's terrified. Liu also said that both Beijing and Washington mutually benefit from trade and denied that the Chinese Communist Party knowingly allows fentanyl precursors to flow into the United States. Oh, here's a report saying the Chinese state subsidizes fentanyl production. Trump imposed a series of tariffs during his last administration, and the Biden White House has left many of them on while maintaining a tough on China stance. On the campaign trail, Trump declared he would impose a 20% blanket tariff on all imports and add tariffs of at least 60% to Chinese products. Some politicians and business leaders would undoubtedly try to challenge the tariffs. But Trump's claims could also just be leverage to increase the chance of a good trade deal for the U.S. Since making deals is kind of Trump's whole thing. A Chinese spy balloon has been spotted over Taiwan for the first time in half a year. Taiwan's defense ministry reported on Monday that the balloon was spotted over the ocean to the island's north, not far from the port of Keelung. This is the first such sighting since April, although in typical CCP fashion, Beijing has denied sending any balloons around Taiwan. Maybe it was Pennywise the Clown from It. Actually, I wish. He's a way less scary monster than the CCP. In fact, weeks before Taiwan's presidential elections earlier this year, Taiwan complained about Chinese spy balloon activity occurring at an unprecedented scale. Taipei describes the spy balloon incidents as part of a Chinese pressure campaign, so-called gray zone warfare, designed to exhaust a foe using irregular tactics without open combat, which fits right along with the usual tactics of the People's Liberation Army concerning Taiwan as of late, including cyber hacks and military drills nearby, along with the usual threats. China is furious with U.S. military plans to set up bases and military units to aid Taiwan in the event of an invasion. To which the U.S. military replied, "Don't start nothing, won't be nothing." Paraphrasing. These so-called contingency plans would see the U.S. establish temporary bases in Japan's Nansei Ryukyu Island chain near Taiwan, where the U.S. Marine Littoral Regiment will be deployed. The Japan Self-Defense Forces are expected to mainly engage in logistical support for the Marine unit, including supplying fuel and ammunition. The U.S. Army will also deploy long-range fire units of its multi-domain task force, which is designed to operate in a multi-domain environment including air, land, water, space, cyber, and information in the Philippines. They're on top of every domain, except but.org, which I looked up, and that domain is somehow not taken. Yet. So it goes without saying China's not thrilled about any of this. Of course, maybe if they didn't keep sending spy balloons over Taiwan or threatening U.S. allies regularly, this wouldn't have happened. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning told reporters in Beijing that her country firmly opposes countries using the Taiwan issue as a pretext to increase military deployments in the region, which only stirs up tensions, fosters confrontation, and undermines regional peace and stability. She said the best way to maintain stability in the Taiwan Strait is simply to follow the One China policy. Yeah, just let China take over. And she added that China highly appreciated the backup it's received from no-limits partner Russia on the issue, especially when Russia's deputy foreign minister stated that America is using the island of Taiwan to stir crisis in Asia, violating the One China principle and strengthening military political contacts with the island of Taiwan under the excuse of maintaining the status quo and increasing arms supplies. To which the U.S. military replied, "You're upset about the U.S. aiding a nation against a bigger authoritarian invading force? Cry about Ukraine more, scrubs." Paraphrasing. But tensions between Washington and Beijing this week didn't end there, because on Tuesday, a U.S. Navy reconnaissance aircraft was shadowed by PLA warplanes as it flew over the Taiwan Strait. Of course, a Chinese military spokesperson condemned the U.S. for carrying out the flight, saying it undermined peace and stability in the region. Yes, China's peaceful takeover of Taiwan. A statement posted to the U.S. Navy website said that the United States military flies, sails, and operates anywhere international law allows. The plane in question is the P-8A Poseidon, which excels at anti-submarine warfare, intelligence gathering, search and rescue, and surveillance and recon missions. Taiwan's Ministry of Defense said in a statement that it had noted the presence of 5 Chinese warplanes and 7 naval vessels around the island, and Taiwan deployed aircraft, Navy vessels, and coastal missile systems in response to the detected activities. So China is being mad and hypocritical about something the U.S. does. Taiwan has to scramble jets in response, and the U.S. is trying to prevent the CCP from doing something stupid and reckless. In other words, it's just a normal day in the Taiwan Strait. And instead of clicking over to the next video, head over to our new premium website at ChinaUncensored.tv. We have all sorts of awesome perks for our subscribers. More than just episodes. There's a way to communicate directly with me and the team, and as I said, we have gift cards on sale now for the holidays. An annual plan to China Uncensored Premium will save you 16%. You could buy it for a friend, a loved one, everyone at your office, or you could just buy it for yourself, you selfish bastard. Happy holidays. Go to ChinaUncensored.tv. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.